Chapter 12:23. Sixth Elder, the lightning beast is here. A few people from the Bai family rushed to an old man who was at the peak of the martial spirit realm. The latter was a branch elder of the Bai family. This time he followed Bai Jintang to Fenghua City to capture the lightning beast. When he heard the words of the Bai family members who went to lure the beast, he immediately nodded and said, "Okay. Everyone hold your breath and wait for the lightning beast to come. Don't disturb it." "Yes." The group of people nodded in agreement and then focused on the scene below. On a hill not far away, Luo Qingtong and the others also held their breath and watched the scene below. It's actually a lightning beast. Looking at the huge figure that appeared in the distance, Xuanhuan's brows furrowed. The Bai family is really bold. Among the sacred beasts, the lightning beast is known for its violent temper and powerful attack power. Most importantly, it has the bloodline of the berserk beast. Once it goes crazy, its strength increases with the intensity of its bloodline power and the degree of its violence. There are only a few sacred beasts that can be compared to it. This lightning beast has obviously just entered the growth stage and has not gained intelligence yet. But, if they want to kill this lightning beast, why didn't they send a Sage Realm expert? With the lightning beast's strength, it was almost impossible to kill it unless one was a Sage Realm expert. They don't want to kill it, they want to capture it. Luo Qingtong replied casually. When she heard Bai Jintang say this, she was also surprised. Capturing the lightning beast, the Bai family really dared to think. And they seemed to have made clear preparations. Since Luo Qingtong knew this, she naturally would not miss the opportunity. Even if she did not want this lightning beast, it would be good to give it to Su Yu and the others to increase their strength. What? Capture the lightning beast? Yu Xihuang was shocked when he heard this. He seemed to have thought of something and was about to speak. Roar. The lightning beast roared violently at this moment. It looked around anxiously, looking left and right as if it was very uneasy. It even turned a blind eye to the temptation of the clear heart purple jade fruit in front of it. What's going on? Luo Qingtong looked at the lightning beast's uneasiness and frowned. Cough. At this time Yu Xihuang, who was beside her, coughed lightly and said, "It's probably because it sensed my presence." Yu Xihuang's gaze swept over the group of people from the Bai family. No wonder there were no saints among them. The Saint Realm would cause the Thunder Beast to sense danger and flee. This Thunder Beast had clearly just entered the growth stage, so it was more sensitive to danger. Yu Xihuang's strength was above the Saint Realm. Naturally, it would cause the Lightning Beast to feel uneasy. Chapter 12:24. Roar. The Thunder Beast suddenly roared, then turned around and walked back, not even caring about the bright purple jade fruit that was about to ripen. It couldn't find the source of the dangerous aura, and it didn't dare to rashly go forward, so it could only leave. Watching the Thunder Beast leave, Luo Qingtong's lips twitched slightly, and she directly pushed Yu Xihuang out. Then, with a bang, she poured all the powder on his body that could cover his scent, almost burying him in it. "Be quiet, restrain your aura," Luo Qingtong said, and raised her hand to draw an aura-concealing array around Yu Xihuang. After doing this, she suddenly raised her hand and flicked her sleeve. With a swish, a strong wind suddenly shot out from between her two fingers, and in an instant, it swept toward the bright purple jade fruit tree. Puff. There was a slight sound. That formless and traceless gust of wind instantly broke through the array that enveloped the purple jade clear heart fruit tree. Without damaging the array, it opened a hole in the array. In an instant, a faintly discernible fragrance floated out from it. That's right. There was a formation around the purple jade bright heart fruit tree. From Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes, the level of the array was quite high. It seemed to be a Saint Realm array arranged by an array plate. If Luo Qingtong didn't guess wrong, the effect of this Saint Realm array should be to deal with the Thunder Beast, and to prevent the scent of the bright purple jade fruit tree from drifting out. Otherwise, there wouldn't be only one lightning beast appearing here. This proved that the Bai family had been deliberately scheming. For this Thunder Beast, who knows how long they had been waiting here. But now, all of this was going to benefit her. Luo Qingtong's lips slightly curled up. The next second, roar. The Thunder Beast smelled the rich fragrance of the bright purple jade fruit tree, and Yu Xihuang's aura were all covered by Luo Qingtong. In an instant, the figure that was about to turn around and leave turned back once again. Dong dong dong. It ran towards the purple jade clear heart fruit. His size caused the entire ground to tremble. Not good. Originally, when the Bai family saw that the Thunder Beast was about to leave, they were very anxious. However, when they sensed the scent of the purple jade bright heart fruit leaking out, they became even more anxious. The purple jade brightheart fruit was a miraculous fruit that could awaken the intelligence of beasts. If it weren't for the fact that they obtained a Saint Realm formation disc from that great one and covered it up, that smell would have spread out and this place would have become the territory of a saint beast. It was impossible for them to get any closer. Not to mention trapping the thunder beast. At this moment, the smell of this clear heart purple jade fruit spread out. Although it was only a trace, if it was smelled by other demonic beasts, they would definitely swarm over. At that time they could forget about catching the lightning beast. Thinking of this, they were about to go crazy. However, how could Luo Qingtong let this happen? She only opened the flaw of the array for a moment, and let the smell lure the thunder beast back. Then she suddenly pulled back her hand. In an instant the hole closed. Rumble. Chapter 12:25. The amethyst bright jade fruit was about to ripen. Seeing the purple color at the top of the fruit continue to spread, the thunder beast drooled and immediately attacked the shrouding array frantically. Boom boom boom. As for the spirit formation, it was instantly activated and began to frantically counterattack the lightning beasts. Rumble. The array and the thunder beast's attacks overlapped. In an instant, the entire area around the amethyst bright jade fruit tree was filled with the sound of collision. The brush moved like dragons and snakes, shooting wildly in all directions. It was terrifying to the extreme. The thunder beast broke a corner of the array, and in an instant the smell of the amethyst bright jade fruit rushed out, causing the thunder beast to become even more frantic. The Bai family people watched nervously, but they didn't know that Luo Qingtong's mental strength had already invaded the array at this moment. She instantly took control of the array and began to attack the thunder beast. According to the Bai family's estimation, the thunder beast would be exhausted if it wanted to break the array. At that time, the energy of the array would be almost exhausted. In this way, the array would explode and use the last bit of energy to seriously injure the thunder beast. Then Bai Jintang would rush over at this time and use the ancestral token to deal the final blow to the thunder beast. In this way, the thunder beast would completely lose the power to resist. However, as they watched, they felt that something was wrong. Wasn't the time spent in this battle a little too short? The offensive power of this formation was much stronger than they had imagined. In less than 2 hours, that lightning beast was actually already covered in wounds all over. And the array still hadn't reached its limit. If this continued, the thunder beast would definitely run away. Sure enough, seeing that there was no hope of breaking the array and that it might even lose its life here, the thunder beast held back no matter how greedy it was. It looked longingly at the clear heart purple jade fruit, then after letting out a wild roar, it began to turn around and run out. Not good. Seeing this scene, the sixth elder became extremely anxious in his heart. Once the thunder beast ran away, it would be impossible for them to lure it back. And because the attack time of the array was too short, they didn't wait for Bai Jintang to arrive. With this kind of mistake, the sixth elder secretly blamed Bai Jintang for being blinded by lust and messing up the important matter. There was no other way. Since they had already reached this point, they definitely could not let the thunder beast escape. Thinking of this, the sixth elder suddenly gritted his teeth and shouted, "Attack! Stop it! We must not let it escape." With his order, the experts of the Bai family who were lying in ambush all rushed out from their hiding. In an instant, the amethyst bright jade fruit was surrounded by experts of the Bai family to the amethyst bright jade fruit. Looking at those martial grandmasters and martial spirits, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up. There are quite a number of experts to Luo. Unfortunately, they all chooses to die this time. She's Luo Luan to little BB, of the time, of course, it. As soon as the Bai family's powerhouses rushed out of their hiding place, they charged towards the lightning beast. Roar! The thunder beast had just run out from the array and was still feeling a lingering fear. When it suddenly saw so many experts surrounding it, how could it not know that it had fallen into the human's trap? Chapter 12:26. After the lightning beast was severely injured by the formation, its strength did not decrease much after activating its berserk beast bloodline. It roared and charged toward the sixth elder and the others. In an instant, the sixth elder and the others were like moths that fell into a trap. They were burned by the lightning beast's flames. Countless screams were heard. The experts of the Bai family were directly swept away by the thunder beast, and all of them were torn to pieces. The blood and slaughter stimulated the lightning beast even more, causing its aura to become even more violent. The power of thunder and lightning around it also danced wildly with even more power. Ah! Amidst the screams, the sixth elder quickly stomped his feet and said, "Use the beast-binding rope." The beast-binding rope was prepared to be used when the lightning beast was exhausted. They had no choice but to use it now. Otherwise, the Bai family's experts would all lose their lives. They would not be able to stop the lightning beast from leaving and killing. The group threw out ropes one after another. Roar! When the lightning beast saw the ropes being thrown out, it subconsciously used its claws to block them. However, the moment its paws touched the ropes, it was as if it was electrocuted. Its entire body was in so much pain that it quivered. Sensing that the beast-binding rope was not to be trifled with, the lightning beast immediately restrained its wild nature. It stomped on the ground and was about to leave in a hurry. However, since the Bai family had thrown out the beast-binding rope, how could they let it leave? Immediately, the beast-binding rope was thrown out one after another, crisscrossing in the air. In the blink of an eye, the lightning beast was trapped within. Then, the sixth elder led a group of Bai family's martial spirit realm experts and rushed toward the lightning beast. Attack! Even if we have to pay with our lives, we must make it stay. One attack after another was thrown at the lightning beast. The lightning beast was already injured. Coupled with the beast-binding rope's obstruction and restraint, it was unable to resist the attacks of the Bai family's experts. Although it had killed many Bai family's experts. As the saying goes, many ants can bite an elephant to death. Under the Bai family's relentless attacks, the lightning beast finally fell with a wail under the effect of the beast-binding rope that was getting tighter and tighter. Its body was tightly bound. Looking at the bound thunder beast, the sixth elder and the others wiped off their sweat. More than half of the people they had brought with them had died. Only less than half of them were barely holding on. If they still could not catch the lightning beast, then it would really be over. The losses this time were too great. There were less than 100 people left, and most of them were martial spirits. Not only that, they were all heavily injured. The sixth elder covered his wound and said angrily, "Eldest young master has gone too far this time. When I return to my family, I will definitely report this matter to my superiors." The anger in the sixth elder's heart could not be extinguished. If not for Bai Jintang delaying his arrival this time, their losses would not be so great. Now that there were so few of them left and all of them were injured, they didn't know how to explain it to their families when they returned. He was absolutely not willing to be the scapegoat. He cursed angrily, then raised his head and drank a bottle of medicinal liquid. After trying his best to calm the aura in his body, he immediately walked towards the purple jade heart fruit tree. The purple jade bright heart fruit had long since ripened. Chapter 12:27. Although it was a little strange that the thunder beast had broken a corner of the array, why hadn't the smell completely leaked out? But the sixth elder didn't think too much about it. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't imagine that someone could easily control this sage realm array. He raised his hand to pick the amethyst bright jade fruit. The smell of the fruit had already leaked out. Although it was only a trace, it was still better to leave this place. This amethyst bright jade fruit was also promised to that lord that he must take it back. Just as the sixth elder reached out to pick the amethyst bright jade fruit, boom! The formation, which had been dormant, was suddenly activated. Not only that, but a figure suddenly appeared beside the sixth elder and raised her hand to pick the amethyst bright jade fruit one step faster than him. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile. She glanced at the sixth elder, who was shocked by her appearance, and raised her hand to pick the amethyst bright jade fruit. "Sorry, this fruit is mine." As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, the array suddenly blasted towards the sixth elder. When the sixth elder saw her appear, he was going to slap her and stop her. But he didn't expect that the array suddenly activated and blocked his attack. Seeing Luo Qingtong pick the amethyst bright jade fruit in her hand, the sixth elder's face was both surprised and furious. Where did this young man come from? How could he control the array here? He even snatched the amethyst bright jade fruit that he was about to get. "Bastard! Who are you? How dare you snatch our amethyst bright jade fruit? Don't you know that we're from the Bai family?" He was flustered and exasperated. Suddenly, he saw Luo Qingtong's figure rush out of the array, and then his face suddenly changed. Not good. He hurriedly rushed out of the array. Boom! The array exploded in an instant. The aftermath was enough to seriously injure the thunder beast, and instantly killed a group of Bai family experts who saw the commotion here and rushed over to help. Seeing another group of people die on his side, the sixth elder's face became even more flustered and exasperated. "Bastard! Who the hell are you?" He just said that when he saw Suyu and the others rush out from the side. "Who I am, you can only go to hell to ask." Luo Qingtong looked at them with a chuckle, and then played with the amethyst bright jade fruit in her hand, and then put it into her waist ring. It's you? The sixth elder didn't know Luo Qingtong, but he knew Su Yu and the others who were captured by Jintang a few days ago. Seeing them appear, his expression changed slightly. Where is the young master? What do you think? Very soon you will be meeting them. Luo Qingtong looked at him with a smile. Shameless boasting. The sixth elder sneered coldly, and didn't take Luo Qingtong's words seriously at all. His eyes swept over Su Yu and the others, and the sneer on his face deepened. With just the few of you? Do you think you can deal with us? I alone can kill you with one hand. The sixth elder's heart was full of disdain. Even if he was injured in the attack with the thunder beast, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill this group of people in front of him. He actually dared to boast shamelessly about wanting to kill him. Chapter 12:28. From the sixth elder's point of view, Luo Qingtong's words were just to trick him. Eldest young master must have been trapped by them using some small tricks, so he couldn't make it in time. There was a knife above the character of lust. Sooner or later the young master would suffer a great loss because of this. But he didn't know that his words had already come true. Jintang not only suffered a big loss, but he was already dead. You want to deal with us? You're overestimating yourself. For the sake of our young master's favor, hand over the clear heart purple jade fruit and obediently let us capture you. I will only cripple your cultivation and spare your cheap lives. The sixth elder raised his head and said, Is that so? Unfortunately, I am not willing to spare your lives. Luo Qingtong looked at him and raised her eyebrows. Not far away in the hill where they were previously hiding, Xuanhuan raised his head from a pile of medicinal powder with a spitting face, and then rushed over to them. Luo Qingtong looked at his figure, the smile on her lips deepened. Kill them all, don't leave a single one alive. I will help you get rid of the powder on your body. Luo Qingtong looked at Xuanhuan's face, as if he just crawled out from a pile of flour. She couldn't help but laugh. This is what you said. Xuanhuan really couldn't stand the thick powder on his body. Unfortunately, Luo Qingtong's powder stuck to his body and couldn't be shaken off. Xuanhuan's face turned green. He just wanted to quickly deal with these family members in front of him, and then quickly get rid of the powder on his body. Hearing her words, the sixth elder was first angry, then he laughed. Deliberately mystifying. Previously you used the young master's death to trick me. Now, I don't know where this fool came from, but you still want to continue to trick me? It's a pity that, in the face of absolute power, your little tricks are just little tricks. I am not the young master, I will not give you the opportunity to take advantage of me. Just wait for your death. The sixth elder said, looking at Luo Qingtong and the others with eyes full of mockery. He raised his hand and sent a palm towards Xuanhuan. From his point of view, this person who seemed to be wrapped in flour from head to toe was no different from a clown. How could such a person be a powerhouse? What kind of expert would put himself in such a sorry state? Furthermore, he had to obey the orders of a martial emperor? The sixth elder had a disdainful look on his face. Luo Qingtong, Su Yu and the others looked at him silently. In this day and age there were always people who felt that they weren't courting death enough and desperately added scenes for themselves. What else could they say? As for Xuanhuan, when he heard the sixth elder's words, his face turned green. An idiot? Accept death? Very good. Xuanhuan was the imperial sect master, so there were not many people who dared to scold him like this. He looked at the sixth elder and smiled. His smile was especially cold and murderous. How should he kill this sixth elder? Xuanhuan looked at the attack coming towards him and raised his hand with a bang. In an instant, the sixth elder was sent flying along with his attack. At the moment when he was sent flying, the sixth elder's face was still very stunned. His eyes still maintained deep mockery and malevolence, but in the next second he was sent flying while vomiting blood. Blood splattered all the way. Chapter 12:29. Xuanhuan coldly flicked his sleeves and looked at him. Obviously he still had that funny look on his face, but the sixth elder couldn't laugh anymore. Seeing this, the family members behind him hurriedly rushed over. Sixth elder. Their hearts were overwhelmed with shock. Before they could react, an extremely strong aura instantly enveloped them, shrouding them all under the aura of a Saint Realm expert. Beat him. Whoever hits him the most, I'll give him a quick death. Otherwise, Xuanhuan said as he waved his hand. In an instant, one of the family's experts was turned into a pile of bones. During this process, his mournful screams didn't stop. After a long time he finally breathed his last. Looking at this scene, the clan experts felt a chill run down their spines. They looked at the sixth elder. The latter's face was already pale with fear. He looked at the eyes that were looking at him and he constantly shrank back and retreated. No. The sixth elder's heart was filled with remorse. He would never have thought that the person he casually mocked was actually such a valiant expert. Xuanhuan raised his hands and feet and beat him until he was half dead and half alive. The sixth elder's heart was filled with despair. Sixth elder, I'm sorry? A by-family expert gritted his teeth and said. The screams of white bones seemed to still linger in his ears. He couldn't bear to die in such a miserable way. As the expert spoke, he immediately pounced on the sixth elder. Seeing this, the others also rushed up. No. The sixth elder's scream was mournful, but soon, his scream was drowned out by the sound of punches and kicks. Bang bang bang. While Xuanhuan was dealing with the sixth elder and the by-family experts, Luo Qingtong's figure appeared in front of the thunder beast. The thunder beast was tied up by the beast-binding rope and was almost dying. Feeling Luo Qingtong approaching, it immediately struggled and let out a violent roar at her. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at it, then asked, "Submit or die?" She released her aura, bringing with it a strong murderous aura. Luo Qingtong's aura didn't have the slightest mercy. If the thunder beast was unwilling, Luo Qingtong would immediately kill it. For Luo Qingtong, although a saint beast was powerful, she had already seen the power of a divine beast. She didn't feel that she needed to be patient with it. It was just a saint beast. If it didn't submit, then kill it. Luo Qingtong's face indifferent face. Sensing her nonchalant attitude, the lightning beast hesitated. Luo Qingtong was completely different from the humans it had interacted with before. The other party didn't seem to care about its life or death or whether it submitted or not. It seemed to be just a casual question. If it's not, it's death. This wasn't a threat, but a fact. This made the thunder beast a little scared. Beasts weren't fools. On the contrary, some beasts were smarter than humans. They knew how to seek fortune and avoid calamity. They bullied the weak and feared the strong. Seeing Luo Qingtong's attitude was clear and firm, the thunder beast became weak. Roar. It let out a low roar which could be considered as a compromise. After all, in this situation, it could neither escape nor fight, so it had no choice but to submit. Or wait for death. Other thunder beasts might think that they couldn't kill it in one move. They could let it toss around, throw a tantrum and serve it like an ancestor. Chapter 1230. Luo Qingtong looked at it coldly. The thunder beast instantly let out a low cry and lowered its head to show its submission. When Luo Qingtong saw it submit, she immediately called Suyu over. Stand still. As she spoke, she pointed at Suyu's head. Luo Qingtong didn't know how other people formed a contract with a demonic beast. She recalled the scene when she and Little Pig formed a contract. Then, she drew the inverted six-pointed star array that appeared on her and Little Pig's bodies. If other people drew this array, they would only have the form but not the spirit. However, Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes were different. Her hands were drawing on Suyu and the lightning beast's foreheads at the same time. Buzz. As the lines took shape, a faintly discernible fluctuation of heaven and earth drifted around Suyu and the lightning beast. A strange feeling inexplicably formed in the hearts of the human and beast. Roar. The lightning beast widened its eyes in shock. It was dumbstruck as it looked at Luo Qingtong's actions. Heaven and earth contract. This human was actually drawing a heaven and earth contract that only ancient mythological beasts could form. As a beast, no one understood the benefits of a heaven and earth contract better than the lightning beast. This was borrowing the power of the heavens to form a contract with a human. A contract like this would ignore the difference in level between the human and beast. Both parties were equal. Most importantly, this heaven and earth contract could allow a beast to borrow the power of a human and break through the upper limit of its strength. After all, ancient mythological beasts were already powerful enough. Why would they need to form a contract with a human? The first type was that they had no choice but to do so. They needed to borrow the power of a human to break free. The second type was that due to the limitations of the beast's race and bloodline, there was a limit to the growth of their strength. However, humans didn't. By borrowing the potential of a human, they could continue to break through the upper limit of their strength and raise the level of their race's bloodline. They could raise their strength to a level that surpassed the upper limit of their race's strength. Of course, that was if the human was strong enough. In short, the benefits of the heaven and earth contract were indescribable. The most important thing was that through this contract, as long as Suyu was powerful enough in the future, it was completely possible for the thunder beast to surpass the level of a saint beast. How could this lightning beast not be excited and shocked by such benefits? If it had known that this human wanted it to submit to him by signing a contract like this, it would have cried and screamed to hug his thigh. There was no need to tie him up. It would never stand if it was told to lie down, and it would never sit if it was told to lie down. The lightning beast was overjoyed and it couldn't help but cry out. In an instant, the sound reverberated in all directions. Xuanhuan, who was cleaning up the Bai family, glanced over, and his gaze immediately changed. Beast-taming seal? No, that's not right. If it was an ordinary beast-taming seal, the lightning beast would have already cried out in pain. The beast-taming seal was used to take away the control of the thunder beast's mind and connect it with the target's mind, thus achieving the purpose of controlling the demonic beast. The level of the selected demonic beast should not be higher than the demonic beast that was sealed. Otherwise, the demonic beast might suffer a backlash. Luo Qingtong was obviously helping Su Yu form a contract with the lightning beast. This lightning beast's strength was at the peak of the martial spirit realm. When it went berserk, its true battle strength was comparable to a Saint Realm expert. As for Su Yu, Yu Sihuang glanced at Su Yu. The latter's strength was obviously not at the martial emperor realm. Under such circumstances, how could both sides form a contract? But unfortunately, this impossible phenomenon happened right in front of Yu Sihuang. Chapter 1231. She sensed that the power in her body was draining away at an extremely frightening speed. In just a moment, all the power in her body had been drained away, and that heaven and earth contract had yet to take shape. Luo Qingtong frowned. She extracted the power from the heart of the thousand-year soul guiding wood and supplied it to the heaven and earth contract. Only when the power in the heart of the thousand-year soul guiding wood was almost completely drained did the connection between Su Yu and the lightning beast was completely established. Luo Qingtong's lips slightly twitched. F***ck, this was the power of an outer court elder of the celestial palace, a sage master after his death. Luo Qingtong originally drew it and prepared to use it as a trump card in the future. But now, 70 to 80% of it had been drained away. One must know that Luo Qingtong didn't even use 1/10 of this power to deal with Bai Jintang. What was the deal with this contract pattern? Why did it require so much power? Wasn't this a contract pattern that all ancient mythological beasts could contract? It should be very easy to contract a sacred beast, especially one that was in the growth stage. Luo Qingtong felt that she had overlooked something, so much so that she had dug a pit for herself. In fact, this was indeed the case. This heaven and earth contract belonged to an ancient mythological beast, and not every ancient mythological beast could use it. Under such circumstances, Luo Qingtong naturally required an astonishing amount of power to use this heaven and earth contract. If not for the fact that the lightning beast was only in the growth stage, Luo Qingtong would have to use even more power. Even if she was drained dry, it wouldn't be enough. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she lowered her body. Meanwhile, Little Pig had already jumped out of her bosom. Its pair of beady eyes stared at Luo Qingtong as it said, "Speak." It had a serious expression, which was a far cry from its usual smugness. With a serious face, it said, "Are you the illegitimate daughter of the heavenly Tao?" BFFF. Luo Qingtong originally thought that it was going to say something, but in the end, it said such a sentence with a serious face. Luo Qingtong's face twitched, and she glanced at it in exasperation. If I were the illegitimate daughter of the heavenly Tao, I would have long ruled the world and ruled the world. What was this pig thinking? In fact, Little Pig didn't want to think this way either. But what Luo Qingtong did was too shocking. Putting aside the various perverted actions from before, at least they were still within the scope of human beings. At this moment, she could even use the heaven and earth contract that the ancient divine beasts could only use by borrowing power from the heavenly Tao. Although the effect was limited, she still managed to use it. What did this mean? This meant that Luo Qingtong's body definitely contained an extremely powerful force that was comparable to the heavenly energy. Otherwise, she definitely wouldn't have been able to use this heaven and earth contract. No matter how much power he had, it would not work. Oh. Luo Qingtong softly replied. So this was what Little Pig wanted to say. Of course, she knew that there was a strange force in her body. Otherwise, how could she repair and heal the damage to Yi Qianxin's meridians caused by the heavenly energy? But that was it. That force was not under her control, and it couldn't even make her stronger. What was the difference between having it and not having it? Chapter 1232. Luo Qingtong knew a long time ago that her eye ability was different from ordinary people. In her previous life, there were many people like Luo Qingtong who had awakened an eye ability in the ancient martial arts world. However, there were none like Luo Qingtong who had such a powerful and comprehensive eye ability. If the world of eye ability was a kingdom, then Luo Qingtong's blood eyes were the absolute king. Those who had awakened an eye ability mostly had a single function. They only had hypnosis and illusions. Their ranking in the ancient martial arts world wasn't high, and almost all of them depended on other people. Only Luo Qingtong stood proudly above all the ancient martial arts ability users. She alone obtained the title of supremacy. Luo Qingtong was the first person to obtain the title of supremacy with a non-combat ability. Her ability was coveted by everyone. Luo Qingtong originally thought that her eye ability had reached its peak in her previous life. But now, after coming to this alternate world, Luo Qingtong realized that there might be room for improvement in her ocular special ability. However, she would only know all of this after her own strength had increased. Otherwise, everything would just be a fantasy. Luo Qingtong thought so. She raised her hand and flicked the tip of Little Pig's nose, then put it back into her bosom. Xuanhuan and Xianxia came to her side. Tong Tong. Sister. Behind the two of them followed the group of people that Luo Qingtong had rescued from the underground dark room. The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong with reverence. Then they looked at Suyu, who was so happy that she couldn't even speak. Their eyes were filled with envy. Master was really too powerful. Everyone didn't know who Luo Qingtong was. She could actually help people form a contract with a demon beast. Moreover, it was a holy beast. Master. Suyu was incoherent. In her bosom was Lightning Beast, who had shrunk to the size of a normal pet after the Heaven and Earth contract was formed. The latter had a body of light purple fur, and a pair of big round eyes that took up almost 2/3 of its small face. Just as she was trying to please Luo Qingtong, she cried out and looked at her. Although its master was Suyu, this lightning beast could clearly see that between Suyu and Luo Qingtong, the one who made the decision was completely Luo Qingtong. Moreover, she could help it sign a Heaven and Earth contract with its master. Lightning Beast didn't expect that it could pick up a pie that fell from the sky. Lightning Beast looked at Luo Qingtong with gratitude. After all, it had an extremely high IQ. When the Bai family captured it, it could already guess what its fate would be. To be able to sign such a Heaven and Earth contract that all demonic beasts yearned for was truly the greatest fortune of its life. This lightning beast had a feeling that its future destiny might be completely changed because of this Heaven and Earth contract. How could it not be grateful to Luo Qingtong? If it weren't for the little pig in Luo Qingtong's bosom, and the little pig's aura that was clearly not to be trifled with, the lightning beast would have been filled with a sense of dread. It might have already jumped into Luo Qingtong's bosom. Are you a beast tamer? Xuanhuan looked at Luo Qingtong. Beast tamer? Luo Qingtong raised an eyebrow. There was such a profession in the True Spill continent. Chapter 1233. She shook her head with an indifferent expression. Nope. Little Pig and Snowball in Luo Qingtong's body were contracted by her. The reason why she could help Suyu to form a contract was because of the effect of the Heaven and Earth contract. It had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. However, in Luo Qingtong's previous life in the ancient martial ability world, she had met several ability users who could communicate with and control beasts. However, their ability was clearly different from those who could form a contract with demon beasts. Not a beast tamer? Xuanhuan looked deeply at Luo Qingtong. Not a beast tamer, but she could help others form a contract with a demon beast. Moreover, it was such a powerful lightning beast. Not only that, this lightning beast was much stronger than Suyu. Xuanhuan looked at Luo Qingtong, his gaze swept through the surrounding people and suddenly raised his hand. Boom. An attack suddenly blasted towards those people who were rescued by Luo Qingtong from the underground secret room. Master. Seeing the sudden attack, the group of people's complexion turned pale. Suyu suddenly flashed and appeared beside Luo Qingtong. She shielded Luo Qingtong behind her and looked at Xuanhuan, who suddenly made a move with vigilance and alertness. The lightning beast in her hand instantly returned to its original size, and angrily roared at Xuanhuan. Form a human formation. Luo Qingtong said to the group of people. The latter quickly formed the human formation that they used to deal with by Jintang. In an instant, Xuanhuan's attack fell on the human formation that they had just formed. With a boom, more than half of the attack was penetrated, and the remaining attack fell on the human formation, instantly breaking the formation and sending them flying. The group of people vomited blood and fell to the ground, but at least they managed to keep their lives. What are you doing? Luo Qingtong stopped Suyu and Lightning Beast, who were about to make a move, and looked at Xuanhuan with knitted eyebrows. Why did this person make a move without saying anything? Did he take the wrong medicine? If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't feel Xuanhuan's killing intent towards her, She would have thought that Yu Xihuang's actions towards these people were directed towards her. They can't stay. Yu Xihuang stared at Luo Qingtong and said word by word. Your ability cannot be revealed. Tong Tong, you probably don't know, but in the entire True Spill continent, there is only one place in the hidden world that has the secret inheritance of beast taming techniques. That's the Beast Taming King Valley. The people there are called beast tamers. They can contract demonic beasts and tame them themselves, and they can also help others contract and tame demonic beasts. The people of the Beast Taming King's Valley are extremely domineering and unbridled in the hidden world. If they know that you're not a beast tamer, but you can help people contract and tame demonic beasts, they will definitely find trouble with you at all costs. To the people of Beast Taming King's Valley, beast taming was the most important method for them to stand at the top of the hidden world. Now, Luo Qingtong was clearly not someone from their side, and yet she could help people contract and tame demonic beasts. This had clearly crossed their bottom line. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong could help others contract demonic beasts, and the strength of these demonic beasts was above the contractors. This was even more coveted. This was because in Beast Taming King's Valley, besides the Valley Master and several others, it was impossible for anyone else to accomplish this. Therefore, Luo Qingtong's ability could not be revealed. Otherwise, there would be no end of troubles. Chapter 1234. They were the only ones here who were most likely to leak the fact that Luo Qingtong could help others contract demon beasts. Hearing his words, the group of people who vomited blood on the ground instantly turned pale. They couldn't refute Yu Xihuang's words. Killing them was indeed the fastest and best way to keep the secret. Although they swore an oath to be loyal to Luo Qingtong, but this kind of thing who could say for sure? Without the test of time, no one knew if there would be someone among them who would reveal Luo Qingtong's secret even if they didn't want their lives. The group of people's faces were filled with despair, covering their wounds without uttering a word. Luo Qingtong looked at them indifferently, then said, "It's okay, they won't betray me." Luo Qingtong would never punish her people because of groundless accusations. What's more, how could it be easy to betray her after becoming her people? Luo Qingtong was hunted down many times in her previous life. She didn't know how many people wanted to betray her, but no one succeeded. Luo Qingtong naturally had a way to make them unable to reveal her secret. Before these people really betrayed her, Luo Qingtong would protect them. This was her promise to her people. Don't mention this matter again, they are my people, don't touch them. Luo Qingtong's words made those people who were lying on the ground cry tears of joy. Master, don't worry, even if we are cut into pieces, we will never reveal Master's secret. They swore to the heavens. And Luo Qingtong softly said, "Get up." She casually threw a few bottles of healing liquid to them, then looked at Yu Xihuang who was next to her. The latter frowned, he didn't agree with Luo Qingtong's words. But since the other side said so, he could only give up. He looked at Luo Qingtong with resentment and said, "AI, being your person is really fortunate. Do you want to take me in as well? Along with the Imperial Sect and the entire southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, it's definitely a profitable deal." His eyes were full of resentment. This person was so good to his subordinates, give him some. He was very willing to be her person. Especially his wife. Luo Qingtong looked at him, smiling evilly. "You swear to the heavens and earth, swear allegiance to me, recognize me as your master. I promise to treat you better than them." As she spoke, she raised her hand and patted Yu Xihuang's handsome face that was completely covered by a thick layer of powder. Then she directly removed the powder from his body. After the powder was removed, Yu Xihuang revealed his devilishly handsome face. He looked at Luo Qingtong bitterly. "You know I'm not talking about that one." What he wanted was the kind of wife who would accept him. "Then there's none," Luo Qingtong said slowly. "I don't accept people other than servants." "Okay, let's go." Luo Qingtong looked at the group of people she rescued from the underground secret room. They had finished adjusting their breathing, so she immediately turned around. "Yes." Su Yu and the others replied in unison and immediately followed her. "Ai. Tong Tong, wait for me." "What about Yi Qianxian?" Yu Xihuang caught up with Luo Qingtong and asked. If the other side wasn't Luo Qingtong's people, then didn't that mean he still had a chance? Yu Xihuang secretly calculated in his heart. Yeah. Luo Qingtong looked at him and suddenly smiled. Chapter 1235. Of course it's an exception. The man she likes is naturally different from others. Yu Xihuang's face is gloomy. What? I don't look worse than him. Yes, you don't look worse than him. Yu Huang is indeed the only person Luo Qingtong has seen who can compete with Yi Qianxian in terms of appearance. Yu Huang, why does it sound like a compliment, but why does he feel inexplicably stifled when he hears it? Is she saying that he can't compare to Yi Qianxian in other aspects? But Yu Huang has no way to refute it. Yi Qianxian is indeed stronger than him. But that's because his heart disease hasn't recovered, so his strength is affected. He will definitely surpass him in the future. Somewhere in the outer region. Yi Qianxian stands in the depths of the starry sky with his hands behind his back. He raises his hand and gently caresses the Shifang dragon ring in his hand. I don't know what will happen to that woman. Did anyone bully her in the far west wilderness? Yi Qianxian inexplicably regrets that he was too lax in the past. In the far west wilderness he didn't build a black field city. Otherwise Luo Qingtong wouldn't be so helpless in the far west wilderness. But this time Luo Qingtong is going to the far west wilderness for the Sage King's tomb. It's an excellent experience for her. If he sends too many people around her, it will attract too much attention. It's not a good thing for her. The best way is to solve the matter here as soon as possible and then rush to her side. Thinking of this, Yi Qianxian suddenly slightly squints his eyes. At this moment, Bei Qing's voice comes from the front. Master. As this voice rang out, Yi Qianming suddenly pulled back his hands, flicked his sleeves and looked forward. Bei Qing and Feng Yu appear in front of him. The two kneel and report, Master, we found the heavenly demon fox's location. However, there are also people from the Star Alliance over there. They obviously have the same goal as us. Mistress. Feng Yu frowned, should we send some men over from Tiandu? Or other realms? No need. Yi Qianxian's voice was cold. There's no need to complicate matters. He had just suppressed the voices of the people from Tiandu. If they knew that he wanted to prolong his life, he was afraid that they would not be able to suppress him. Yi Qianxian didn't care about their ruckus, but Luo Qingtong's blunder had happened before. If these people couldn't be suppressed, then when they went to the True Spill continent, they would inevitably attract trouble from Luo Qingtong. Yi Qianxian didn't want the girl to be threatened or wronged. Let's go, he said in a deep voice. His figure disappeared on the spot. Bei Qing and Feng Yu looked at each other worriedly before they hurriedly followed him. While Yi Qianxian was heading towards the location of the heavenly demon fox, Luo Qingtong and the others had also arrived at the number 1 city of the western wilderness, Wild City. This is Wild City? Luo Qingtong looked at the huge city wall in front of her. The shape of the city wall was rough and full of power, which corresponded with the word wilderness. At the same time, standing in the endless wilderness of the far west wilderness, it was also incomparably shocking. This wild city looked like 4 or 5 times the size of the holy capital of the Empire of Qin. In 4 directions except for the gate near the eastern wilderness. The other 3 directions were the widest, richest and most dangerous areas of the far west wasteland. Because of this, Wild City was called the number 1 city of the western wilderness. Chapter 1236. Rumble. When Luo Qingtong and the others got close to Savage City, suddenly a deafening sound came from behind them. Luo Qingtong and the others turned around and saw a group of people galloping towards them from not far behind them. Move aside. Move aside. Everyone move aside. That group of people were all riding iron-horned rhinoceroses. It was a kind of mount unique to the western wilderness. It had a gentle temperament and a ferocious appearance. It looked very ferocious and mighty. At the same time, its fur was as white as snow. It was very popular among the pioneers in the western wilderness. However, this kind of iron-horned rhinoceroses was very difficult to catch. The price to buy was also very expensive. Ordinary pioneers in the western wilderness would not be able to get such a mount. In fact, some of the smaller cities outside of Wildland City didn't even have such mounts. At this moment, Luo Qingtong and the others saw that the group of people were all riding iron-horned rhinoceroses. And these people were all young men and women who were not more than 15 or 16 years old. It was very obvious that these people were the children of big families in Savage City. Luo Qingtong looked at this group of people rushing towards them. Their actions were unruly, and they were shouting loudly for people to move aside. She immediately twisted her eyebrows. However, she was too lazy to argue with such people. She pulled Su Yu and the others to the side. Yu Huang was wearing a veil hat on his head. When Luo Qingtong pulled his sleeve, his originally unhappy mood became happy. He was too lazy to pay attention to these children of influential families in Savage City who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. A group of people stood outside the city gate, waiting for the group of people to pass by. At this moment, A voice floated over from the opposite side. "Ai, these people have been coming here every day. They really don't care about people's lives." That's right. This family Hu boy also has a hard life. Although he is the product of family Hu's second miss who lost her virginity before marriage, but in any case he is still the blood of family Hu. And what happened that year, everyone knows that it was not the second miss's fault. These people from the Hu clan are really insulting the other party. That's right. No one knew how he managed to pass through the dangerous western wastelands to reach Savage City. So, how pitiful. In the end, the family Hu people treated him like that. You're just bullying him because he's a fool. Yes. It's also because family whose head is seriously ill and doesn't care about anything, and family whose eldest young master has been paralyzed and unconscious in bed ever since that incident. Otherwise, how could family Hu be in this state? Yes. Sai, if the second elder of the side branch wants to seize power, how could he allow a male from the main branch to stand in front of him? Even if he was an idiot, it would not do. Isn't he trying to torment that kid from family Hu? He even pushed him out to be the object of amusement for the other aristocratic families. This brat is really lucky. I don't know if fortune favors fools, but I can't die no matter how hard I try. Shoo. Stop talking, those people are coming. Hearing the whispers from all around, Luo Qingtong's brows immediately furrowed. Was she imagining things? Why did she feel that the person these people were talking about was very familiar? Family Hu an idiot? Did they find him outside? Luo Qingtong's brows furrowed. At this moment, the group of people had already rushed to the city gate. Chapter 1237. Behind that group of people, there was a person tied up and dragged along. That person's 4 limbs were bound by chains as thick as a child's arm. His entire body was tied up tightly, and he was dragged along by that group of people on their iron-horned rhinoceroses. Seeing this scene, many people in the surroundings cried out in alarm. With such strength and speed, this person's body was obviously not protected by any aura. This person would be dragged to death. Who would have thought that this group of people was running so wildly to make way for the person behind them? Many people who had just heard the whispers in the surroundings finally understood what they were talking about. These children of the aristocratic families in Wildland City really did not take human lives seriously. Moreover, listening to the words of the people nearby, the person being dragged could be considered a member of the family Hu. The other party was just going to let him be trampled on like this? While everyone was astonished and crying out in alarm, Luo Qingtong was furious in her heart. Not for anything else, but because the person being dragged by that group of people was none other than Chu Lingfeng. Why was this big blockhead here? And he was being dragged along like this? Luo Qingtong looked at the scene in front of her, and a burst of anger erupted in her heart. At this moment, a burst of laughter suddenly came from that group of people. Ah! Wuyener Hu Bang, you 2 siblings are really good. Bringing such a thick-skinned blockhead to play with us is really too enjoyable. Yes. Ah. Look at that blockhead, his life is really as cheap as a dog's. No matter how we play, he won't die. I think we should change the game tomorrow. We'll cover the ground with gravel, clamp a blade and play again. Those young men and women laughed wantonly, and the words in their words made people tremble from the bottom of their hearts. They were really too vicious and did not take human lives seriously at all. Everyone cast sympathetic glances at the person who was being dragged. Suyu and the others also looked over. The people from the Luo family's Iron Army did not have much of a reaction. They had never seen Chu Lingfeng before and naturally did not know who he was. Seeing this scene, he only felt sympathy in his heart. Suyu immediately recognized Chu Lingfeng. Master. She covered her mouth and exclaimed softly, looking at Luo Qingtong. The latter took a step forward with a cold expression and stood in front of the group of people. Chu Lingfeng. Luo Qingtong's cold voice pierced through the laughter of those people and resounded in Chu Lingfeng's ears. Get over here. With Luo Qingtong's eye technique, she could naturally see that Chu Lingfeng didn't have any internal injuries. This drag was enough to kill someone, but to him, it was probably not as serious as the injuries he had suffered in the bloody arena in the past. However, Luo Qingtong was not angry that he had been injured. Instead, it was because he was being humiliated and tortured like this, yet he didn't even fight back. That blockhead. Luo Qingtong's voice resounded in Chu Lingfeng's ears. The latter abruptly opened his eyes. Master. His heart was filled with ecstasy as he abruptly pulled on the iron chains that bound his body. Suddenly, he stood up amidst the neighing of the horses. He looked around, searching for Luo Qingtong's whereabouts. Ah. Chapter 1238. However, Chu Lingfeng suddenly stood up. In an instant, the horses under them were pulled taut by the iron chains. One by one, they were all stopped in their high-speed gallop. Amidst the neighing and whining of the frightened horses, all of them suddenly screamed and flew forward. Plop plop. Their bodies fiercely hit the ground, instantly rubbing against the ground as they flew forward. Some of them were luckier and directly flew over the city gate. As for those who were not so lucky, they directly crashed into the majestic and tall city walls, instantly breaking their heads and bleeding. A few powerful aristocratic family descendants flew up fiercely. After a few leaps in the air, they landed on the ground. Bastard! What the hell are you doing, you fool? And you brat, why are you blocking in front of us? Are you looking for death? The aristocratic family descendants were thrown off their horses. Immediately, a wave of anger rushed towards Chu Lingfeng. There was also a group of people who rushed towards Luo Qingtong. At this time, Chu Lingfeng also saw Luo Qingtong. He suddenly exerted his strength. In an instant, with a bang, the iron chains around him were all easily pulled apart by him as if they were made of plastic. The angry people who wanted to cause trouble for him were knocked to the ground by the broken shards of the iron chains before they could even get close. Ouch! Amidst the screams of the crowd, Chu Lingfeng flew to Luo Qingtong's side with a face full of joy. He also sent the aristocratic family descendants who rushed over to her flying. Then, with a face full of joy, he circled around Luo Qingtong. Mas, he was just about to call Luo Qingtong, but then he remembered the words that Luo Qingtong had instructed him in the past. When outside, without her permission or seeing her in another disguise, he was not to call her master directly. Chu Lingfeng sized up Luo Qingtong. Seeing that she wasn't wearing the evil Dr. Ghost Eye's disguise, he immediately swallowed the word master that was about to come out of his mouth. He just looked at Luo Qingtong with a silly smile and kept scratching his head. His appearance, coupled with his honest and foolish appearance, made it hard for people to associate him with the violent and ferocious appearance from before. This was the feeling of a man-eating beast turning into a house pet. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this. That unforeseen event had happened too quickly. Everyone was still in a daze. Especially those who had previously thought that Chu Lingfeng was extremely pitiful and was afraid that he would be toyed to death by these young masters. Now that they saw him brimming with energy, they were instantly speechless. Who said that Chu Lingfeng was going to be played to death? Looking at his appearance, there wasn't the slightest bit of injury. These young masters had been dragging him everywhere these past few days. Chapter 1239. That finger almost poked Chu Lingfeng's nose. Kneel down. Kowtow like a dog and apologize. When they forgive you, then you'd better get up, do you hear me? The figure that was pointing at Chu Lingfeng and scolding him was actually a young girl dressed in a light pink robe. The pink robe accentuated the young girl's age and delicateness, but it couldn't conceal the overbearing attitude on her face and the malice and disdain she had for Chu Lingfeng. Seeing the other party's expression and hearing her words, Luo Qingtong's original intention of teaching Chu Lingfeng a lesson was immediately put aside. Aside from her, no one else was allowed to touch her men. Big brother. Luo Qingtong looked at Chu Lingfeng, and before he could open his mouth, she had already taken the initiative to shout. She looked at the overbearing young girl in pink and said with a fake smile, "Who is this woman with no manners at all?" She covered her nose, her face full of disgust and disgust. Why does she have a stench on her body? Not only does her mouth stink, she stinks too. Before Luo Qingtong could finish her words, the young girl in pink had already shrieked. What nonsense are you talking about? Who are you calling stinky? Do you know who I am? I'm Hu Yenner from family Hu Yu. Before she could finish her vicious words, a stench had already drifted out from her body. In an instant, everyone could smell the strong stench she was emitting. Once this stench was emitted, the surrounding people's gazes towards her immediately changed. This stench was extremely unpleasant, as if it was the smell of dead fish mixed with the smell of the latrine. Everyone looked at Hu Yenner's face that had suddenly turned pale, and thought to themselves, could it be that she had a strong body odor? It was only because there was something special that had previously concealed it. But now it had been accidentally exposed? If that was the case, it would really be big news in Wilderness City. Family whose power was considered to be above average among the families in Wilderness City. If not for Hu Zhongtian and his eldest son Hu Fei, family whose power would have been even higher. Who would have thought that Hu Yenner, who was usually so overbearing and arrogant, would secretly have such a strong body odor? Who knew where she got the face to look down on others? Once this matter was out, Hu Yenner's life in Wilderness City would be difficult in the future. Not only would no one in the aristocratic families look at her in the future, even those young ladies who had been bullied and despised by her in the past would secretly despise her and mock her. They would no longer be with her lest they lower their standards. Because of this incident, Xuanhuan was destined to be abandoned by the aristocratic families in Wildland City. While everyone's expression was strange, Xuanhuan also smelled the strong odor coming from her body. She also didn't know what was wrong with her. Looking at the surrounding people's indescribable gazes, she immediately screamed and ran away. Wherever she went, it was as if the plague had arrived and the stench filled the air. Everyone immediately moved away, increasingly convinced that Xuanhuan's body odor was strong and unpleasant. Everyone who smelled it wanted to vomit. Chapter 1240. A few of the young boys and girls who were close to Xuanhuan and Hu Bang quickly sniffed their bodies to make sure that they had not been tainted by the disgusting smell. Immediately, they distanced themselves from Hu Bang, who was standing on the spot. The latter's expression was extremely ugly. He had never thought that Xuanhuan's body would emit such a disgusting smell. What was going on? Could it be that for some reason, his sister had been tainted by this disgusting smell and was unable to get rid of it, so she had been hiding it? And now it suddenly exploded in front of so many people? It was not that Hu Bang did not suspect that someone was secretly trying to harm Xuanhuan, but when Xuanhuan was by his side, she had been acting normal. Then when she rushed in front of that fool, Chu Lingfeng, she suddenly exploded with a disgusting smell. Just now when Xuanhuan was scolding Chu Lingfeng, it was obviously in front of everyone's eyes and almost everyone's attention was on her. Even he himself was the same. If someone wanted to harm Xuanhuan, it was impossible for them not to feel anything. Thinking of this, he immediately dispelled this thought in his heart. Then he took out his anger on Chu Lingfeng. If not for this fool suddenly acting up and throwing them all out, how would the disgusting smell on Xuanhuan's body be discovered? If this was at the entrance of family Hu, it would still be fine and Xuanhuan's matter could still be covered up. But now, she had embarrassed herself at the entrance of Wilderness City. Xuanhuan would probably never be able to turn over a new leaf. Even if the disgusting smell on Xuanhuan's body disappeared, everyone would probably think that she had used some method to cover it up. Hu Bang was enraged as he thought of this. He could not hide the coldness in his eyes as he looked at Chu Lingfeng. It was all this fool's fault. Once this bastard came, nothing good would come out of their bloodline. The family Hu that was just about to be in their hands because of him, new problems cropped up. This time he had offended so many aristocratic disciples, and not only that, he had also caused Xuanhuan's secret to be exposed. He was really hateful. Hu Bang was about to open his mouth and scold Chu Lingfeng. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice suddenly rang out. "Big brother, why did they drag you on the ground just now? Don't they know your identity?" Luo Qingtong said as she leisurely looked at the expressions of the people around her. The most important thing was the expressions of Hu Bang and the other noblemen. After the latter and the others distanced themselves from Hu Bang, they were not going to let Luo Qingtong and Chu Lingfeng off. They were about to rush over to settle accounts with the two of them. When he heard Luo Qingtong's words, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. As a descendant of an aristocratic family, the most important creed was that they could be arrogant and foppish, but they absolutely could not bring trouble to the family. Hearing that Chu Lingfeng's identity might not be ordinary, everyone's expression changed slightly. Luo Qingtong didn't give them too much time to think. She directly spoke. "My big brother is from the southern region's imperial sect. How dare you treat him like this? He must be tired of living. You better pray that there is a legitimate reason for this. Otherwise, the southern region's imperial sect will not let this matter rest." Pooh! When Luo Qingtong's words came out, Xuanhuan, who was beside her, suddenly staggered. Then he whispered in her ear, "Hey, when did he become a member of our imperial sect? How come he didn't know?" Chapter 1241. Your identities are easier to use. If she brought up the black field in her name, it would attract too much attention. If someone paid attention, it would be easy to suspect her identity. Moreover, it would not be beneficial for her to secretly investigate the Saint King's tomb. On the contrary, it would be more convenient to use the identity of the imperial sect. Probably no one would think that she would be together with Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan was banned by Yi Qianxian from appearing in the black field. Xuanhuan's mouth twitched. Soon he seemed to have thought of something and smiled happily. "Then, is there any benefit in using my identity?" he asked with a smile on his face. "For example, kissing, hugging and so on?" Luo Qingtong looked at him with a smile that was not a smile. Before she could speak, Hu Bang on the other side had already shouted with a changing expression. Impossible. How could this fool be from the imperial sect? He sneered at Luo Qingtong and the others and said, "Don't think that you can absolve him of his crimes just because you said that. He hurt so many aristocratic children here and you want to absolve this matter with just a few words? Dream on." How could Hu Bang let Luo Qingtong and the others absolve themselves of this matter? They pushed Chu Lingfeng out for these aristocratic children to play with. They used his mother as a hostage. If he did not listen, his mother would never be recognized by the family Hu and return to the family Hu. This idiot has no brain at all. He actually believed their words after hearing them. Actually, everyone in Wild City knew that Hu Zhongtian had never blamed Hu Yenyang. After she disappeared, he blamed himself deeply for not doing his duty as a father. Due to the pressure from the clan and the outside world, he let his daughter live alone outside and suffered all kinds of rumors and slanders. In the end, she left without saying goodbye. If Hu Zhongtian was not seriously ill and could not get up, and did not know about Chu Lingfeng's arrival, they would not have done anything to Chu Lingfeng. Even so, they did not dare to deal with Chu Lingfeng on their own accord. After all, Hu Zhongtian still had a group of powerful secret guards that belonged solely to the patriarch. Although these people were only loyal to the patriarch and did not care about anything in the family, this did not mean that they would watch as they killed Chu Lingfeng. That was why Hu Bang and Hu Yener were able to use Chu Lingfeng for fun. Anyway, it was fine as long as he didn't kill the other party. Hu Zhongtian didn't have many days left to live. By the time they had complete control over the family Hu, they would be able to kill Chu Lingfeng, that bastard. But now, Chu Lingfeng had offended more than half of the aristocratic families in Wildland City. If the other party didn't take the blame, he would have to take it himself. It was precisely because Hu Bang saw through this that he tried his best to deny Chu Lingfeng's identity. He couldn't let Chu Lingfeng get away with this. He had to let these aristocratic families point their spears at him. Furthermore, with this idiot's foolish appearance, how could he possibly be someone from the imperial sect? Hu Bang didn't believe it at all. In his heart, he was certain that Luo Qingtong had purposely said it to absolve Chu Lingfeng and herself. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows, then transmitted her voice to Yu Xihuang. "Do you have a token on you that can prove your identity as someone from the imperial sect?" "Yes." Yu Xihuang answered without hesitation. But soon his wolfish nature was revealed. Chapter 1242. Under the veil hat, that pair of enchanting peach blossom eyes, indescribably charming. The veil hat seemed to penetrate the veil, staring at Luo Qingtong's body. "Good." Luo Qingtong looked at him, suddenly smiling wickedly. Taking the opportunity to blackmail her for benefits? Perhaps Yu Xihuang didn't know her temper. "What kind of benefits do you want? How about a kiss?" Luo Qingtong looked at him with a chuckle. "Good, good." Yu Xihuang's face was full of joy. She did not expect Luo Qingtong to bring it up herself when she was thinking about it previously. The world is simply too beautiful. But very quickly he thought of Luo Qingtong's temperament. Suddenly looking at her with vigilance, he said, "Let's agree it's a kiss." He deliberately emphasized the word kiss. "It must be your kiss. Kiss the lips." He thought and added another sentence, so as to avoid Luo Qingtong taking advantage of the loophole. Luo Qingtong looked at him with a fake smile on her face. She would properly fulfill his wish. "Good." She nodded. "Give me the token." Luo Qingtong's answer was very straightforward, although Yu Xihuang's heart still felt something was wrong. But he thought about it, he couldn't think of anything else that Luo Qingtong could do. He had blocked all the loopholes, this time there was absolutely no problem. Thinking like this, he suddenly didn't think so much, directly passing the token representing the identity of the imperial sect to Luo Qingtong's hand. With his strength, it was naturally easy for him to not be discovered by anyone. Luo Qingtong played with that token, then under the cover of her sleeve she directly stuffed that token into Chu Lingfeng's sleeve pocket. "Big brother, let them see the token on your body," Luo Qingtong said in a deep voice. Chu Lingfeng was stunned. He didn't have the imperial sect's token on him at all. He was master's man. Looking at his stunned expression, Hu Bang suddenly sneered. I knew it, he couldn't be someone from the imperial sect. How could the imperial school recruit a fool who didn't know that the imperial sect had already unified the 3 islands and 7 lands after the imperial sect master, Yu Xihuang, was cured of his heart disease? The current imperial sect was already the true overlord of the southern region. How could a fool like Chu Lingfeng join the imperial sect? He was afraid that he would only be a handyman. No one else would want him. Hu Bang thought, feeling both proud and disdainful. As for the other aristocratic families, after hearing his words, the way they looked at Luo Qingtong and the others changed again. Bastard! How dare you lie to us? They looked at Luo Qingtong with faces full of anger and humiliation. Raising their hands, they were about to gather the people from their respective families to help them clean up the mess just now and get back some face. However, before they could make a move, Luo Qingtong had already patted Chu Lingfeng's sleeve. Big brother, it's in your sleeve pocket. This big blockhead. Luo Qingtong also couldn't do anything to him. However, this character of Chu Lingfeng's was what she liked the most and was most at ease with. It was pure and wholeheartedly for her. So, if he was a little foolish, then so be it. Oh. After being patted by her, Chu Lingfeng immediately obediently followed her instructions and took out the token from his sleeve pocket. This? Chapter 1243. Protector. It was actually the protector of the imperial sect. One had to know that under the sect leader and elders were the protectors of the main altar, compared to those elders who only existed as a deterrent force. The protectors of the main altar were the ones who held the real power in the imperial sect. Those who were not close to xuanhuan could not hold the position. More importantly, this protector of the main altar had to be personally issued by xuanhuan. In other words, with this token, even if Chu Lingfeng was not the protector of the imperial sect, he would still be someone who was highly valued by xuanhuan. Thinking of this, how could the faces of these aristocratic children not change? One had to know that although the imperial sect did not have any forces in the far west wilderness, the other sects in the southern region had many forces in the far west wilderness. Under such circumstances, if the imperial sect wanted to make things difficult for them, how could the family clan offend the imperial sect with just the few of them? They would have to hand them over. Thinking of this, they suddenly felt a wave of regret and annoyance. If they had known that this fool who suddenly appeared, had such a background, they definitely would not have treated him like this. This time they were really unlucky. Just as everyone was feeling annoyed, Hu Bang's face was indescribably flustered and exasperated. This is impossible. How could this lowly bastard have such an identity? Hu Bang looked at the token in Chu Lingfeng's hand in disbelief. His heart was filled with anger and depression. This lowly bastard actually had such a good life. He was actually able to obtain the appreciation of the imperial sect leader. The imperial sect did not have any forces in the far west wilderness, but in the southern region, they were a proper overlord. Originally, he thought that this lowly bastard and his mother must be in poverty outside, unable to continue, so he wanted to find them at this time by any means possible. He did not expect that the other party's identity outside was so prominent, and that they were living a good life. Hu Bang's face was so ugly that it was as if he had been ruthlessly slapped dozens of times in the face. At this moment, Luo Qingtong glanced at him and suddenly laughed. That's impossible? How could your family who not know? As Luo Qingtong spoke, she gently opened the folding fan in her hand and gently fanned herself. She leisurely said, My eldest brother's personality, he always carries this token with him. Did the people of family who really not see it at all? As she spoke, her gaze swept from Hu Bang's face to the faces of the nobles. Suddenly she smiled meaningfully. This plan of using someone else to do your dirty work is pretty good. As Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, the faces of Hu Bang and the other aristocratic family members changed. However, the former changed because of panic while the latter changed because of anger. Hu Bang! How dare you family who set us up? When Luo Qingtong's words came out, those aristocratic families' younger generation immediately started thinking about many things. They were originally on tenterhooks because they had just dealt with Chu Lingfeng. When Luo Qingtong's words came out, they immediately thought, the reason why they had dealt with Chu Lingfeng earlier and used him for their amusement, it was completely because Hu Bang and his sister had led the other party to them, allowing them to amuse themselves as they pleased. They had previously thought that the family whose siblings were very nice. Now it seemed that they were not nice at all. Chapter 1244. At that time, even if they killed the other party, they would take the blame for them. These family who people really had a good plan. In an instant, those aristocratic family disciples looked at Hu Bang with ferocious gazes. No. Wait. It's not like that. Hu Bang did not expect that Luo Qingtong would turn the hatred of the aristocratic family disciples to him with just a few words. Looking at these people's ferocious gazes, his heart trembled. These aristocratic family disciples here were not the top existences in their respective families, but they were not that bad either. Otherwise, the siblings Hu Bang and Hu Yener would not have mingled with them, and even dragged Chu Lingfeng out to curry favor with them. If these people attacked him together, he really would not be able to resist. Even if his family was outside, they would be implicated. After all, these people all thought that his family had plotted against them. We didn't. He tried his best to explain. However, these aristocratic family disciples had already confirmed their thoughts, so why would they listen to his explanation? The token in Chu Lingfeng's hand was real, and his identity was also real. Then, the siblings Hu Yener and Hu Bang dragged the other party here to amuse them. If not for their evil intentions, what else could it be? When they thought about how they had almost become tools for the other party to kill someone with a borrowed knife, and how they had almost gotten into trouble with the imperial family, these aristocratic family disciples were instantly furious. Hu Bang, weren't you and Hu Yener having a good time just now? Come, let's continue. A group of people sneered as they surrounded Hu Bang. Then they tied him up like a dumpling in a few moves. Just like how they had treated Chu Lingfeng, they tied the chains behind their horses. This time we were misled. We will apologize to the imperial family right now. These aristocratic family disciples were very obedient. They clearly wanted to vent their anger, but they did not forget to curry favor with Luo Qingtong and the others. As soon as they finished speaking, they immediately patted the horses they were riding on. In an instant, those iron-horned rhinoceroses turned around and rumbled away with Hu Bang, who was constantly screaming and struggling. The latter's screams faded away along with the deafening noises, and his figure soon disappeared before everyone's eyes. At the city gate, everyone could only see a cloud of smoke and dust. Many people were secretly cheering in their hearts. What was this called? A wicked person would be dealt with by another wicked person. With Hu Bang's strength and without the protection of his aura, he would still be able to survive if he was dragged along like this. If not, he would just hang up. However, family whose people had plotted against those aristocratic families. Even if Hu Bang was dead, they probably wouldn't dare to cause trouble for those aristocratic families. After all, it was already good enough that the latter didn't cause trouble for them. Hu Bang deserved it. Everyone thought so, but Luo Qingtong had watched enough and acted enough. She directly brought Chu Lingfeng, Su Yu and the others into Wildland City. Tong Tong, you promised me before. Once the matter was over, Xuanhuan went in front of Luo Qingtong and whispered to ask for credit. His words were full of eagerness. That pair of charming peach blossom eyes, even the veil of the veil couldn't hide the burning light in them. Luo Qingtong tilted her head and looked at him. Suddenly she smiled wickedly, extremely charming. A kiss, right? Chapter 1245. Come over here and close your eyes. Yu Sihuang's heart burst with joy. In a flash, he appeared beside Luo Qingtong and kissed her with his eyes closed. Luo Qingtong looked at his action. Her eyes flashed with a trace of craftiness. Then she raised her hand, thus he summoned Little Pig. The little pig was squatting in her sleeve with nothing to do. It was using its little hoof to play with the little golden mouse beside it. The little guy was teasing it until it squeaked. While it was messing around, Little Pig's body suddenly soared into the air and came face to face with Yu Sihuang. Little Pig's eyes widened in shock as his little nose was kissed right on the spot. At this time, Yu Sihuang also felt that something was wrong, and immediately opened his eyes. In an instant, one person and one pig stared at each other. Then Yu Sihuang jumped up and instantly retreated 3 feet away. Pei. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a black and green face. Tong Tong. What happened to the promised kiss? Isn't this it? Luo Qingtong said and flicked Little Pig's little nose. Little Pig didn't react at all. Yu Sihuang's head was full of black lines. Tong Tong. You can't do this. I clearly said before that it's yours. His face was full of resentment. That's right. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at him. Little Pig is also mine. Is there a problem? Yu Sihuang, who was deeply tricked, was depressed. When the two returned to the group, Su Yu and the others had been waiting for them for a while. Master, where are we going now? Su Yu looked at Luo Qingtong and asked. Take the heavenly diabolism people and find a place to stay. Familiarize yourself with the fake soul seal I gave you before. When I need it, I will call you. All right. Su Yu and the others responded and immediately left. Chu Lingfeng watched and was about to leave with Su Yu when he was stopped by Luo Qingtong. What's wrong with you? Why are you in Wild City? Luo Qingtong looked at him and asked, Didn't the Grand Principal send you to do something? Could it be that his place of business was in this Wildland City? But when she was about to leave, the grand principal didn't tell her about this matter. This meant that things weren't like that. Master. Chu Lingfeng looked like he had done something wrong. He bent his waist and lowered his head, not daring to look at her. After I came back from handling some matters for the grand principal, I knew that you weren't around, so I chased after you. Only heaven knew that when Chu Lingfeng returned to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, he heard that Luo Qingtong had left and that he had missed the chance to meet his master. His heart was like a bolt from the blue. He directly told the grand principal that he was on leave and ran to find Luo Qingtong. But because Luo Qingtong had turned around and went to Fenghua City, Chu Lingfeng didn't encounter them. That was why Chu Lingfeng hadn't bumped into them. Instead, he had arrived at Wild City ahead of time. And Luo Qingtong nodded. At this moment, Chu Lingfeng raised his head. He was a big and burly man, even bigger than when he first met Luo Qingtong. At this moment he was looking at her with red eyes. Master, don't give me to that door. I won't go. Give this lousy token back to them. Master. Don't be angry with me, okay? Don't abandon me. I want to stay by your side. Chu Lingfeng's heart was filled with panic. He didn't know that Luo Qingtong said that he was a member of the imperial sect, but it was only a temporary measure. Chapter 1246. Chu Lingfeng's heart was at a loss. His second life was given by Luo Qingtong. Without Luo Qingtong he wouldn't be who he is now. He only knows to listen to his master's words, follow his master and do things for his master. If his master doesn't want him, he really doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to follow anyone other than his master. He doesn't want to listen to anyone other than his master. Master, you said you won't abandon me? Luo Qingtong looked at this big fool who was like an abandoned dog. Her heart was suddenly filled with helplessness. I said I won't abandon you, so it must be true. That identity is just another amulet I found for you. With it, when you walk outside it will be a lot easier. Luo Qingtong said, glancing at xuanhuan who was listening to Chu Lingfeng's words. His face almost turned green, and the corner of her lips slightly lifted. Since the other side gave the token to her, then it's hers. Of course she wants to make the best use of it. Xuanhuan looked at this master and servant pair, and his lips twitched for a while. These two master and servant are exactly the same. One is tricking him, the other is unconsciously dissing him. Can you be a bit more sincere? Xuanhuang's face was gloomy. But when he saw Luo Qingtong's glance he nodded. I know, from now on, Imperial Sect will have a headquarter protector called Chu Lingfeng who doesn't care about anything. I will pass on this matter as soon as possible. Luo Qingtong saved his life. Even if he didn't like Luo Qingtong, Xuanhuan would not help with this small matter. Before, he took the opportunity to ask for benefits from Luo Qingtong, but it was just a joke. Even if Luo Qingtong didn't agree, he would still give her the token. But he didn't expect that he still couldn't play with the other side. Thinking of the big hole he fell into, Xuanhuan suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong with hidden bitterness. Luo Qingtong didn't pay attention to him. After receiving his answer, she immediately nodded at him. Then he looked at Chu Lingfeng and asked, What's the deal with family Hu? How did you end up being tied up and dragged behind the horses by those nobles? Luo Qingtong frowned. When she said this, her expression suddenly turned solemn. Because of Chu Lingfeng's simple and honest personality, Luo Qingtong's personality was slightly restrained and soft in front of him. But when it came to the bottom line, Luo Qingtong had no face to speak of. She had told Chu Lingfeng before that other than her, no one else had the right to make them lower their heads. Chu Lingfeng was obviously not at the mercy of those people, but he was tied behind the horse and dragged along. If he didn't explain this clearly, or if his explanation was not satisfactory to her, then all the words she had said before about not wanting him would not count. She could not tolerate people who would bend their eyebrows and bend their knees to others. She couldn't tolerate people who would lose her face and break her proud bones. Master? Chu Lingfeng looked at her uneasily, not daring to hide anything. It's them. They told me that only if I listened to them they would let my mother come back. Master, don't be angry. Chu Lingfeng stuttered for a while. The more anxious he was, the more he couldn't speak clearly. Luo Qingtong had already heard some of the ins and outs from his words. She remembered that Yen Yang had told her before that when she came to Wild City in the far west wilderness, she should take care of family Hu. But she didn't want to mention her name. Combined with the whispers she had heard at the city gate before. Chapter 1247. Yin Yang is the second daughter of family who lost her virginity before marriage? Did she give birth to Chu Lingfeng at that time? Luo Qingtong pondered in her heart. If that was the case, then it could explain why Yin Yang didn't want her to mention her name. Perhaps she felt that she was a disgrace to family who? But if it was really family who chased Yin Yang and her son away, and now ignored family who and his sister to bully Chu Lingfeng, then, even if it was Yin Yang's request, Luo Qingtong wouldn't care about family whose life or death. She didn't want to disgust herself. Does the head of family who know that you were bullied by family who and his sister? Luo Qingtong could vaguely tell from the words of those people at the city gate that these things were done by the branch of the concubine. If the head of family who didn't know, she could consider his attitude and then reconsider. If the other party knew, then they would go their separate ways. Family whose life or death had nothing to do with her. I don't know. Chu Lingfeng shook his head. I haven't seen him yet. He said honestly, they didn't let me see him. They said that my mother wasn't qualified to see him and that I wasn't qualified to see him. I have to make them happy so that they will intercede for me. I heard my mother talk about family who before, but she didn't tell me where family who was. Master, I can feel that my mother really wants to come back. But she's afraid that it will make things difficult for grandfather and the others. I want to help my mother. Chu Lingfeng said with some hesitation. He glanced at Luo Qingtong, then quickly lowered his head and said, Master, I didn't let them bully me for nothing. Hu Bang and his sister have diarrhea every day when they go back home. Also, they drag me around like this, which is good for my body refining. They helped me but I didn't even know. You're still snickering over there. What a fool. When Luo Qingtong heard him say that the Hu siblings were silly in such a serious manner, she could not keep her expression straight. She laughed. You're a fool yourself and you still have the nerve to talk about others. Luo Qingtong glanced at him snappily. If it weren't for the fact that this blockhead was gifted and that his injuries were equivalent to an increase in strength, family Hu and his sister's tricks would have been enough to slowly grind him to death. One had to know that the hidden injuries left behind by such dragging could not be seen. If he accumulated too much, it would be easy for him to die suddenly for no reason. At that time, the people from family who would be able to shirk all responsibility. Killing without spilling blood, so vicious and vicious. Interesting. Since the head of family who did not know about this, then she would go and meet those people from the second elder's branch of family who. No matter what, Yin Yang had helped her so much and Chu Lingfeng was loyal and devoted to her. She had no reason to ignore their matters. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately said to Chu Lingfeng, Let's go. I'll take you to see your grandfather. While she was at it, she also wanted to see what the head of family whose attitude was towards Chu Lingfeng and Yin Yang. If he still disdained them for being a disgrace, then she would leave without another word. If there was a little bit of affection between them, then he might be able to help them. Moreover, the thing that Bai Jintang mentioned before about family who, she also wanted to investigate and see if it was related to the Saint King's tomb. Chapter 1248. At the same time in the sky above the black field. An extremely magnificent and powerful spirit ship cut through the sky in an instant and appeared above the main city of the Dark Domain, landing directly in front of Yi Qiming's palace. Quick, quick, quick. Elder Yu. Come quickly, go and see Master. Bastards, those people from the Star Alliance are too shameless. They can't win against Master, so they use tricks to make the Sky Demon Fox go berserk. Master couldn't dodge it completely. Bei Qing rushed into the medicine hall in a hurry. He pulled Elder Yu and ran, not caring whether he was refining medicine or not. Elder Yu directly wasted a pot of rare medicinal liquid. He didn't have time to deal with Bei Qing. Hearing his words, his face suddenly froze and he hurriedly ran to Yi Qiming's palace. When the two arrived at the entrance of the palace, they saw Feng Yu standing there with a dumbfounded expression. He was staring blankly at the inside of the room. Hey, why are you just standing there? Go in and guard Master. Bei Qing said as he hurriedly walked in with Elder Yu. However, just as he took 2 steps in, he caught a glimpse of the scene on the big bed in front of him. He was stunned for a moment. Master, Master, Master. At the entrance of family who Luo Qingtong brought Chu Lingfeng, Yu Xingqi and Yu Xihuang here. Looking at the closed red door and the faint stench coming from inside, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up. She didn't know how long the people of family whose second elder could last. This 10 miles of fragrance was deliberately created by Luo Qingtong in her previous life to deal with the organizations that wanted to kill her. It was very powerful and had a strong smell. The longer Luo Qingtong stayed in family Hu, the more it would ferment. At that time, the entire family Hu would be submerged in this miasma-like stench. Luo Qingtong brought Chu Lingfeng and the others to family Hu. At this moment, the guards outside also saw them. To be precise, he saw the blockhead Chu Lingfeng following behind Luo Qingtong. Yo, the big idiot is back? Did you have fun today? They fought to mock Chu Lingfeng. These people were all children raised by family Hu. To put it bluntly, they were family Hu's slaves. Now that he saw Chu Lingfeng, a descendant of the direct line of descent, in such a pathetic state, he naturally wanted to tease him even more to regain his sense of superiority. The main family's direct bloodline is suppressed by us, and we can humiliate them however we want. How great was this feeling? Moreover, these people had just seen Hu Yener come back crying with a foul stench all over her body, while Chu Lingfeng came back unscathed. No matter how they looked at it, it seemed like he was the one who did it. The group of people gloated in their hearts. Making Miss Yenna like this idiot should just wait for his death. Who didn't know that Miss Yenna was the treasure of the second elder's line of descent? They were still counting on her to wait for the right price to climb up the ranks of the top families in Wilderness City. Chu Lingfeng had caused her to become like this. Wouldn't second elder and the others find out and skin him alive? Chu Lingfeng didn't pay attention to them at all, and only stared at Luo Qingtong. Ninth brother? Thinking of Luo Qingtong's previous instructions, Chu Lingfeng forcibly changed the words he wanted to say. This word didn't sound as smooth as master at all. He muttered in his heart. And go knock on the door. Luo Qingtong said to him. Yes. Chu Lingfeng agreed readily. He rushed to the entrance of family Hu in a few steps and prepared to knock on the door. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.